You gave more than you should have, didn't you? And the worst part, they made you feel like that was your mistake. You were patient. You stayed loyal. You kept trying to understand them, even when they made no effort to understand you. And now you're left asking, was I too soft, too kind, too easy to use? Number. You weren't weak. They just saw your kindness and assumed you'd never leave. That's what some people do. They test you, not to see your strength, but to see how much of yourself you'll sacrifice to keep them comfortable. But this video isn't about blame. It's about clarity. It's about waking up to the truth that protecting your peace is not selfish. It's survival. We're going to talk about why people use good-hearted individuals like you, what you can do to stop that cycle, and how to set boundaries that don't come with guilt. If you've ever been taken for granted, misunderstood, or made to feel like you were too much, then this is for you. Let's get into it. You ever notice how the kindest people always seem to carry the most weight? At work, they say yes more than they should, not because they want to, but because they don't want to disappoint anyone. In friendships, they're the ones who check in, who remember the small things, who stay when everyone else forgets. In relationships, they forgive things that would break other people. They try harder, they love deeper, and in return, they're often overlooked, disrespected, or taken for granted. That's the reality for a lot of people, maybe even you. You give, they take, and they keep taking until there's nothing left. And when you finally speak up, when you draw the line, they call you selfish. They say you've changed. They say you're acting different. Yeah, because you are. You're no longer letting people drain you just because you're strong enough to handle it. Here's the hard part. Some people don't know how to value a good heart because they've spent their whole life taking advantage of them. They think kindness means you'll stay no matter how they treat you. They think patience means you'll tolerate their disrespect. They mistake your softness for weakness. But the truth is, the kindest people are usually the strongest. Because it takes strength to stay kind in a world that constantly tells you to be cold. It takes strength to love again after being betrayed. To help again after being used. To speak softly when all you've known is people yelling or walking away. But even strength has a breaking point. This isn't about becoming bitter. It's about waking up. It's about realizing that the people who make you question your worth were never seeing your value in the first place. They were just measuring how much they could get away with. So, if you've ever been called too soft or too emotional, just remember, it wasn't your kindness that was the problem. It was their inability to match it. And from this point on, that kindness doesn't go away. It just gets smarter. You've probably asked yourself, why me? Why did they treat me like that when all I did was care? And that's a fair question. But the answer is uncomfortable. Because most of the time, it was never about you. It was about them. People who are emotionally immature. People who are insecure. They don't know how to receive love that doesn't come with control. So when they meet someone like you, someone kind, honest, and willing to give without playing games, they don't trust it, they don't value it, they try to dominate it. Because deep down, they're terrified. Terrified you'll see through them. Terrified you'll realize your worth. Terrified they'll lose control over someone who doesn't need them. Because you were whole before they entered the picture. In their world, kindness is weakness. So they test it. They push your buttons. They guilt trip you. They slowly train you to question yourself until you start apologizing for things that aren't even your fault. Let's say you work in an office, you show up early, help your team, never cause drama. But there's that one co-worker, always watching, always trying to find fault. They smile in front of others, but they downplay your success, question your intentions, or joke about your work ethic. That's not just workplace tension. That's covert insecurity. They don't hate you. They hate how you make them feel about themselves. It happens in families too. You try to be the peacekeeper. You reach out. You compromise. But they keep throwing jabs, ignoring your boundaries, acting like everything you do is a problem. You're not the problem. Your presence just reveals what they don't want to confront in themselves. And in relationships, this is where it cuts the deepest. You love without manipulation. You forgive. You stay. You give space and understanding. But instead of being grateful, they get bored, they become critical, and eventually they turn the tables and make it seem like you were never enough. But here's the truth they'll never admit. They broke you because they couldn't match you. They drained you because they never had the capacity to pour back into you. And no matter how much love you gave, you couldn't heal someone who used your heart as a crutch for their own damage. That's why walking away isn't a betrayal. It's self-respect. Because your kindness was never the problem. It just exposed theirs. There's this guilt a lot of kind people carry. Like setting boundaries somehow makes you a bad person. You say no, and suddenly you're the villain. You stop replying instantly. Now you're distant. You speak up about how something made you feel, and they say you're too sensitive. But here's what you have to understand. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It's self-respect. You're not here to be someone's emotional punching bag. You're not here to absorb disrespect in the name of being nice. You're not here to constantly prove your worth to people who only notice your value when it benefits them. Let me give you something real. There's a woman I know, kind, giving, always the one who showed up. Family, friends, even her workplace leaned on her for everything, and she kept giving until she burned out. Then one day, she stopped answering every call. She stopped over-explaining. She didn't yell. She didn't ghost anyone. She just stopped trying to hold relationships together on her own. And guess what happened? Some people disappeared. Some got angry. Some guilt-tripped her. But a few, the right ones, respected the boundary. What she learned, and what many of us learn too late, is that you teach people how to treat you by what you allow. You don't have to explain your silence to people who heard your pain and ignored it. You don't owe constant access to those who never showed gratitude when they had it. You don't have to feel bad for choosing peace, especially when chaos was the only thing they brought. Stoic philosophy teaches us that inner peace isn't something the world gives you. It's something you defend within yourself. You can be kind and still not let people walk all over you. You can forgive and still not allow repeat offenses. You can care and still walk away. Real strength isn't loud. It's quiet boundaries. It's walking away without revenge. It's not explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. So if you've been carrying guilt for choosing your well-being, let it go. You didn't change. You just stopped letting people drain the parts of you they never earned. Let's be honest. After you've been used, it's hard to trust people again, even the good ones. You second-guess compliments. You downplay your needs. You tell yourself, I'll never let anyone get that close again. Because the last time you opened up, you were taken for granted. You gave love and got manipulation. You gave effort and got excuses. So now your heart builds walls, not to keep people out, but to stop yourself from being broken again. That's normal. That's human. But it's also a dangerous place to stay. Because when you shut everyone out, even the people who might care, you don't just lose pain. You lose connection. You lose growth. You lose parts of yourself that deserve to be seen, not hidden. I want you to understand something. The problem wasn't that you cared too much. It was that you cared in a place where your care wasn't respected. That doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you become more intentional with who receives it. You start watching patterns, not promises. You observe how people respond to your boundaries. You notice whether they value your time, not just your attention. And healing. Healing doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means letting yourself feel it, learn from it, and then slowly, piece by piece, showing up again. Even if it's scary. Even if your voice shakes. Even if you've been burned before. Because staying closed off? That's not safety. It's just self-preservation dressed as strength. Real strength is being open again. Not naive, not reckless, but open, with discernment. And if someone shows up and proves they're different, don't punish them for what someone else did. Give yourself permission to start over, because your kindness wasn't the mistake. Giving it to the wrong people was. When people spend enough time tearing you down, you start to believe it. You start to wonder if maybe you are too emotional, too sensitive, too intense, too much, or not enough, not strong enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. That's what emotional manipulation does. It doesn't just hurt you in the moment, it rewires your belief about who you are. And here's the hardest part. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet comments, the passive-aggressive jokes, the way they'd roll their eyes when you were vulnerable, the way they'd act like your dreams were unrealistic, the way your wins never seemed to impress them, but your flaws were always under a microscope. Over time, that changes you. You stop speaking up, you play smaller, you wait for permission to feel proud of yourself. And slowly, you forget who you were before you started walking on eggshells. But that version of you, the confident one, the kind one, the passionate one, they're still in there, just buried beneath all the false narratives others projected onto you. It's time to unlearn their voices, to strip away every label they put on you, and start asking, who am I when I'm not being judged? Start small. Get quiet. Remember what lights you up. Remember what you wanted before fear and shame took the wheel. That's what rebuilding looks like. Not overnight, not dramatic, but slow and intentional. One boundary at a time, one honest conversation at a time, one brave decision at a time. Because the person you're becoming isn't new. They're just finally free. There comes a moment after all the hurt, the overthinking, the guilt-tripping, when something inside you just stops. You stop justifying your choices. You stop defending your silence. You stop trying to make people understand your heart, especially those who were never listening to begin with. It's not bitterness, it's not arrogance, it's clarity. Because when you've spent years explaining yourself, why you stayed, why you left, why you feel what you feel, you realize it was never about them understanding. It was about you needing permission to trust yourself. But now you don't wait for permission. You say no without guilt. You rest without apology. You detach without feeling cruel. You protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Think about it. How many times did you explain your intentions only to be met with doubt? How many times did you open up, hoping they'd see your heart, but they used your honesty as a weapon? It's exhausting and unnecessary. You don't owe explanations to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't have to shrink your truth to make others comfortable. You don't have to keep proving your worth to people who only see value when it serves them. The day you stop explaining yourself is the day you start reclaiming your life. You walk into rooms differently. You set boundaries without emotional panic. You make decisions based on alignment, not approval. That's not cold. That's self-respect. And the ones who truly get you? They won't need an explanation. They'll feel the peace you now protect and respect it. You'd think people would be happy when you heal, when you grow, when you set boundaries, when you finally choose yourself. But the truth is, not everyone claps when you get stronger. Some get distant. Some get passive-aggressive. Some even get cruel. Why? Because the version of you they were comfortable with, the one who over-explained, overgave, overstayed, is gone. And now that you've stopped playing small, they don't know how to control you anymore. That scares them. See, your growth doesn't just change you, it exposes them. It reveals who only liked you when you were easy to use, who only stayed because you didn't ask for much, who called you loyal when really you were just too tired to fight back. And when that version of you disappears, so do they. Let them go. Because their silence is confirmation, not rejection. It confirms they were never clapping for you. They were clapping for who you were to them. And now that you're no longer that version, they'll twist your growth into betrayal. They'll call your boundaries attitude. They'll say, "You've changed." Good. Because staying small to make others comfortable is not love. It's emotional suffocation. So yes, your circle might shrink, but your peace will expand. And in that space, you'll meet people who don't need the old you to stay. They'll respect the healed you, the honest you, the stronger you, the version that no longer begs to be understood. You've done your part. You gave people chances. You stayed quiet to keep the peace. You let things slide to avoid conflict. But at some point, you realized silence was costing you more than speaking up ever would. That's when the shift began. Not loud, not angry, but certain. Because growth doesn't always look like a fight. Sometimes it looks like not reacting, not explaining, not showing up where you're not respected. You don't have to tell your side of the story. You don't have to justify why you changed. You don't need to announce your healing process. You just need to protect your peace and move forward. People will talk. Let them. People will judge. Let them. People will question your choices. But only you live with the consequences of staying in places that drain your soul. So protect your energy like it's sacred. Because it is. You don't owe the world your pain. You don't need to bleed emotionally to prove you're human. You owe yourself truth. You owe yourself rest. You owe yourself boundaries that don't bend every time someone's feelings are hurt by your strength. And you owe yourself peace, even if it means disappointing everyone who got used to the unhealed version of you. Because healing isn't selfish, it's survival. And now that you've survived, it's time to live. You weren't weak, you were generous, you were patient, you were real. And even if they took that for granted, even if they walked away like you didn't matter, you're still here, still rising, still growing, still healing, on your own terms. So, if you've been told you're too much, if you've been blamed for walking away, if you've been made to question your worth because of how deeply you care, let this be your reminder. You're not broken, you're becoming. And if anything in this video spoke to you, leave a comment, share your story. You never know who needs to hear that they're not alone. Subscribe if this kind of truth speaks to your soul, because this space was made for quiet warriors like you. Until next time, Protect your peace. Speak your truth and walk with discipline, not distraction.